I scampered down the line of palms and French plane trees, the fresh scent of leaves adorning the air along the way. The pastel yellow building passes by, and ahead, a boy as tanned as a tree trunk runs from a wooden shack by the water, carrying a checkered bag and shadily checking his surrounds, possibly some Ipianian blood, possibly snooping around looking for mischief. But hippies would choose the safest abode to snoop, so the shack's probably the shrewdest place to gather my thoughts and gauge them a loot. I leave the trees and stand by the shack. It's full of wine barrels and has firewood stacked against the wall, enough as a good place to survey the docks. Ahead is the Jardin de la Cietat, with its array of trees and tropical plants, sheltered by the massive rock, La Bec d'Agale, as if a beak of an eagle rising from the water. Javier wheels his car along the jetty that stretches out over the ocean, the wheels clanking on the beams, vibrating the rug. You'd think that all the clattering and shaking wouldn't wake the man beneath that rug. Surely he's sizzled on wine. Javier starts passing ships along the dock, half a dozen of them, and then heads out towards the final ship. At the end of the jetty is a triple-mast, multi-decked, red and black Spanish warship. A formidable construction of possibly 2,000 trees consisting of oak frames and planks of cedar and pine mixed edge to edge with wooden tree nails. Javier wheels the cart over the gangplank, boarding the sea-hardened vessel. I breathe deeply, tasting the salty air. He just had to board the worst, scariest ship. That ship is happily being massaged by its crew, and disturbing its recuperation by boarding it is not desirous. And not only does the ship appear menacing, but who knows what the people could be like on its decks. Javier seems dangerous enough. Maybe he even have angrier friends. Hell, maybe even pirates. But it's where my cap is, where the drunk detective could be, and so the ship must be boarded. My belly tightens like rope wrapping around a spar as I walk the docks toward the ship. This is not how I imagined my life would turn out, stalking strangers on the vessels. The other ships pass me by, all seemingly peaceful with their normal oak-colored planks and sails of white furled up as if rolled up rugs. On nearing the vessel where Javier strode, my worries grow. The ship's sides and stern galleys are adorned with black painted engraved lions, all with mouths agape displaying a row of teeth that could rip a man's heart out. Lions are meant to signify courage, but they seem to drain mine. A black rusted iron sign is bolted to the ship's stern below the outstretched bowsprit, reading, Salamont, ladies. I reach the end of the dock where it's joined by the ship's gangplank. Below the jetty, deep blue-green waves swirl on the dock's barnacle-clad pylons, frothing white foam. It's a decent drop, a scary height. Ever since I was little and fell off our old mare, La Belle, heights have haunted me like a schoolyard bully. I swallow and step back from the edge. Do not let your blue fear of heights prevent you from securing the cap and talking to the drunk detective. Another swallow and I step forward onto the gangplank, watching my steps and the ocean swirling beneath, waiting to gulp me. And soon I cross the length of the plank and hop on board. The ship's broad deck creaks, gently swayed by the waves. Despite being on unfamiliar territory with unfamiliar people, the ship is comforting. A vessel feels home. Its broad decks feel how a dance floor would feel to a master of ballet. The crew's immersed in the drudgery, sounds of rope rigging on hooks, tinkering of lathes as the wind swirls the many lines, and somewhere, perhaps below, a hammer punching on wrought iron, almost musical. A pudgy fellow, shorter than a boy, is wearing goggles and standing by an old contraption that's being attached to the ship's side. He appears familiar and stretches his head, perhaps a bit confused. He heaves and strains at the mechanism's silver handle, but despite him leaning his back into it, face screwing in effort, he can't wind the lever. He tugs his goggles back, revealing it is the man who had the cage on the wagon I saw the other day. The pear-bellied man bends forward and inspects the handle. His butt pokes out of his pants and he scratches a butt cheek. The left one. Splendid choice. A bald gentleman with green reflective glasses slides down a rope and lands at a classy clump upon the deck. His green glasses are strapped around his cranium and do not budge. The glasses look interesting, and I wonder if... And then a woman in a billowing red shirt and black pants tighter than a snake's skin skids down another rope. The rope zings between her boots. She lands with a timbery thud beside the man, taking my full attention. The woman removes her hat, rocking her hair sun-blazing blonde, hair side to side like a vessel in a storm. Her lips brighter red than a whole bunch of fresh strawberries. She could pass as Taylor's big sister. She smacks the bald man across his cheek. He straightens his reflective glasses and says nothing, doesn't complain. Not that he has anything to complain about. I wouldn't mind some of that. The beauty of the woman causes my lips to curl into a smile. Bonjour, I say in a jovial manner, and everyone looks up, gazing at me as if I were a woolly roe of goat mouthing a block of cheese. Has anyone seen Devier? He's got my cap. The woman throws me a sharp look, her hair flipping over her head as if it's rearing up to attack. Seeing that glare changes my mind about getting my own stinging smack. Lost it by accident, I say to ease tension, but the red lips don't move, not an inch. And then she steps forward. She's a woman, an attractive woman, but those black boots stamping on the deck feel like they shake the boards all the way along and vibrate into my feet. A pair of hands suddenly snag me and spin me around. It's Devier facing me. His leather bandana sits above his judging eyes while he's holding my cap, running it through his fingers. You a thief, boy? He asks. If he believes me to be a thief, he'll lock my head and hands in the pillory and the crowds will pound my face with rotten eggs and sheep poo. It's way too dangerous to mention the detective. I clutch my shirt where my heart is and shake my head. A misunderstanding. I'm just after... You snooping? He narrows his brown eyes. Never been a snooper. My stomach feels sick, and if the vessel had been rocking and rolling on turbulent seas, warning me it's time to leave. If you hand me my cap, I'll be gone. You can leave, boy, he says, but the cap's mine now, you hear? That can never be heard. My head gets a rush of blood. But it's my dad's! The man smiles like there's gravel in his cheeks. He holds my father's cap out between his hands as if he's going to rip it. Please don't tear it apart. And he flings Dad's cap away. It spirals through the air and twirls down a dark stairwell into the gun deck. Your father shouldn't have raised a girly thief, he says, then grabs me again with those sailor hands that feel like they could break a donkey's leg. He drags me across the ship's deck and pushes me toward the gunplank. Shove off and treat yourself to some cheese souffle. He kicks me in the pants, knocking me a few lax steps onto the gangplank. The kick stung. Felt like an angry swinging hoof of a cow. But his words stung more. Not the tasty souffle, but the part saying Dad raised a girly thief. Not true. Well, not a thief anyway. Though I guess after today's trying to borrow a few pastries, still, you can't break sugar upon my father's back. The cabbie's not remaining with that slug. I turn and dart under his arm. Get the boy, he shouts. Balin pounds the deck. His frame casts an immense shadow right in front of me. And if those powerful arms wrap me in a squeeze, there will be no escape. But a deft spin allows me to dodge him and run back down the stairwell and reach the cargo hold. A yellow-rimmed porthole brings a circle of light into a group of barrels stacked in the corner. And hiding in the shadows is Dad's cap on the rug. The rug moves. Mumbles like a sick wild boar. Chains rattle, and edging from under the blanket is a bare dark foot marked with calluses like moon craters. The rug slips down to reveal long hair the color of a silver moon, shoulders covered in a green coat. It's surely the detective, but there is no time for probing questions. I grab the cap, but instead of turning to face the stairway to freedom, standing before the stairs is Devier. I step back from him, creating barely the space of a rifle. His eyes, brown and fierce, do not blaze at me. Instead, they shoot over my shoulder toward the rug. You saw the Ipianian. Devier seems to be more concerned about me learning that they have this man than stealing the cap. Better lie my way out of this one. I shake my head. Just his foot. you sausage. Think before you blab. I bite into my lip and twist the cap. Devier slowly raises his hands and tightens his bandana, creaking its lever, preparing to do something that's not going to tickle. And why'd you go and get yourself into trouble? Just run, Link, run! I shove him into a barrel and rush up the stairs. The sun strikes my face upon the deck and it feels as if I just broke from a prison. I take toward the gangplank. Then Balin tosses a wide-mouthed cooking pot toward my head. It loops forward as if shot from a cannon and clangs into my cranium. The blunt shock sends me slamming face first into the deck and I drop the cap. The tweed cap lies in the sun and a dreaded feeling tells me it's going to be lost. I reach for it, but Devier snaps his arm around my neck and hurls me to my feet. His arm is so tight, it feels like a Pillaroi. You're done now, Devier says, then glances at Dad's cap on the deck. Roll that cap overboard, Balin. No, I yanked Devier's wrist, but he's got his arm locked. Threw away the key. Balin gathers Dad's cap, and the sight of it in other man's hands, especially a British fiend, is sickening. He presses the soft tweed into his matted orange beard and breathes in the texture. No one smells that cap but me. Smells of mold, he says. Liar. Balin grins like a trickster clown, then arches his arm back and prepares to throw the cap overboard. Please don't. But the bald man catches his arm. The tweed is stylish, the bald man says, green reflective glasses glinting from the sun as he casts upon Balin. Balin appears intimidated as if a sheep cornered in a swift Berger Picard dog, and the man with the reflective glasses plucks the cap from Balin's hands. Even though this man is a complete stranger, seeing him take the cap feels like a threatening tidal wave has died down into a sea of great calm. He slips the contours of the tweed on his bald head, a single tongue of the brim. A snug fit, too, he says. Damn him, it is a snug fit. He looks at me, eyes concealed by the reflective glasses. Makes me somewhat handsome. Although he's my preferred choice to Balin, he still can't keep it. You'll lose the hat in the wind, I warn, but he won't become its cozy. But he won't, because it fits cozy. I'll store it in Cheval's cabin until we dock at Mailer's, he says, then strolls with it up the grand steps toward the poop deck. The cap thief saying Cheval's cabin would take my thoughts, except Devier's arm cuts my windpipe and returns my considerations to my current dilemma, about to black out from air. He spins me around and grabs my throat with his leathery fingers. The grit in his touch shows of a man at sea. You can leave, boy, he says, but first we will cut out your tongue. I'm sure you do no talking. He pulls a knife from his boot and shines it in the sunshine. Slowly he angles it towards my mouth. But my tongue belongs in my mouth, so I knee him in the groin. Devier drops to his knees, groaning, and I dash again toward the gangplank. Grab him, he calls with immense strain, then cuts hard. Oh. The red-lipped woman and the pudgy man cut across my path, blocking the exit over the plank. Red Lips holds out her hand. Stop, cutie, or you'll... A tricky slide allows me to slip between them, but rips open the knee hole in my trousers, and then I toe dance across the plank. I rush along the dock so fast the seagulls sitting on the jetty post flock into the air. Hitting the streets, I vanish into the thick crowd. Folks shout at me, slow down and watch it. But I don't slow down, nor do I watch it. I run through them, knocking over men trying to avoid that to the ladies, but unfortunately bumping a few. My sprinting represents a mad horse-like gallop until my head throbs like it has been kicked by horses. Surely the ship's crew wouldn't bother to follow me. I left with nothing after all. I look back, reveals a sea of angry faces. There is no one from the ship, no one chasing me with a knife. Slowing my pace has me merging onto the docks again, realizing I have ran a route near straight along the waterway into the Grand Châtelet neighborhood. Artisans hard at work clang, bang, and rattle clumps of iron, along with jewelers, engravers, and polishers grinding it away with meticulous hands. The town square soon beckons with the noisy populace. Then arrives the church, the Église Notre-Dame de l'Assomption. built of rose-colored limestone with its single bell tower and a restrained Romanesque facade. Taking cover from the docks, I slip behind the church, lean against it and breathe. After my lungs cease stressing, a few strides brings me into a small square, place Sari Kano. People sit in idle chatter at the cafes. The square's fountain in the corner is bordered by trees either side, triple-story buildings surrounding the square. The fountain provides soothing sounds of water tinkling endlessly from its central figure of a woman holding a water flask upon her shoulder. My thoughts come as fast as my breaths. They have Dad's cap. That rotten crew have stolen it. I've ruined everything searching for that detective who's probably a chained criminal. Church bells clang, clang, clang behind me 6 times. They ring to protect the town from any more hailstorms. But the sound of them gives me no peace nor protection, just an aching skull. I need to find some quiet place, calm and serene, no people if possible. Leaving the church, I head up a narrow street, ambling in no direction with my head drooping toward my sandals. A tear slides down my cheek. Another comes, making me think about how much I'd cry if tears of joy if Dad ever trekked up our dusty road, dirty faced with his bag slung over his back. I need to know where he is now, if anywhere. Could he have been captured and forced into slavery and be shoveling in a mine or hacking at stalks in one of those sugarcane fields in the Caribbean? Still thinking of me and Mom? That feels like a fable told by old men. It could be, as Mom hinted last night, that he might not be coming home. Not ever. Thoughts like that bring the haunting image of him decaying in some abandoned sugarcane field, beaten and left for dead by highwaymen.